Yu-Gi-Oh! Did influence the creation of Flesh and Blood. Welcome everybody to this spicy topic, which I really enjoyed rolling out at the first ever Flesh and Blood World Championship in San Jose. My name is Alex and today we are talking to Gehring, who played competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! In the early days, was the New Zealand national champion and participated in 2008 and 2009 Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championships, along with Newsun Zeng, who was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Very intensively for around a decade, until he decided to stop. Both are working for Legend Story Studios, the company that produces Flesh and Blood in New Zealand. They share some of their best memories in Yu-Gi-Oh! A small insight on what they brought from their Yu-Gi-Oh! Days to Flesh and Blood, as well as what made them start playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Also, thank you Jason Chung for helping us out on filming this. And before we start, I just want to let you know that this is the first of many Yu-Gi-Oh! Related videos on this channel, and that I am rejoining Yu-Gi-Oh! With this. So if you see anything that you like or dislike, or something that you want me to dive deeper in, let me know in the comments about it. Thank you so much, and now let's jump right into it.
Welcome guys, we're here at the Flesh and Blood World Championship in San Jose with Gehring and with Newsun Zeng. Both are game developers in New Zealand for Flesh and Blood. Welcome, thank you for taking the time and having a little conversation with me.
It's going to be fun. Get to talk about Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yes,
The first game I really played professionally, I guess.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a lot of memories for me. I think I've played it for over 10 plus years.
Wow, yeah, 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have also something to open up and then talk a little bit more in depth about your past about Yu-Gi-Oh! And I also want to get a little bit to know what made Yu-Gi-Oh! Feel for you, and maybe did Yu-Gi-Oh! Influence you in some way as a person and also as making Flesh and Blood a great game? So I have one booster for each of you. We will open them up after each other, and then we have some singles to talk about also. Old school cards for sure.
Newsun, you can go first.
Okay.
So what do we have here?
So we have a Invasion of Chaos Unlimited pack. So the cards that are notable in this set are Blackluster Soldier in Way of the Beginning, Dark Magician of Chaos, the Secret Rare Chaos Emperor Dragon. No, is it Chaos? Yes, Chaos Emperor Dragon's in here. What's that spell called? Dimension Fusion.
Yeah, man, that's crazy too.
This set was very iconic, even though I didn't play the format. But I've heard some of the most powerful cards came from this set.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get one of those.
Yeah, man. Let's see.
Alright, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Packs. I haven't opened a Yu-Gi-Oh! pack.
Yeah. You gotta sniff the old school, right?
Smells like glue.
I don't know how people sniff that back in the day. Alright.
Yeah, kicking it off.
So we have Sea Serpent Warrior of Darkness. I remember this card. It was one of the starter decks. 1800 normal summon attack was pretty good back in the days, I believe.
Yeah.
Dawn Turtle. This one I don't know. Chaos End. Big Koala.
And
Enraged Battle Ox.
I remember using that card a lot back in the day with was it Giant Gorilla? Or Berserk Gorilla? I can't remember the name.
Beast. It was Beast Control, right?
Beast Control,
yeah.
Running over scapegoats all day long.
It has
and that's the
piercing
rare?
weapon in it, right?
Yeah.
Patrick Fairy, Coach Goblin, Soul Absorption, and Be Gone Knave. Yeah.
So what, you already told like some of the most powerful cards from the set?
Yeah.
Maybe you can show the camera again on us? So Invasion of Chaos was one of the most powerful packs back then, like from the first era. And like what really made this so powerful?
So I didn't really play this format, but I've heard it's like the first set where you can just banish Allied and Dark and summon this very huge boss monster, which has over 2,500 attack, has some crazy ability, and then it was just very easy to summon, like Chaos Sorcerer, Blackluster Soldier, Chaos Emperor Dragon. Very good. And then the Dark Magician of Chaos, I think one of them, that was a very popular card. I think it was like one of the comments was like reasoning, monster reborn.
Yes.
You hit the demark and then you get the card back and then you redo it. So that was pretty powerful.
This set pretty much started the era of special summoning. Previous to that, 1800, 1900, and 2000 attack monsters were what Yu-Gi-Oh was. It was Sakuretsu armors, bottomless trap holes, and just monsters that you could summon that have good attack value. And as soon as the set came in, you were able to special summon and bypass the normal summoning and put pressure in different ways than existed before. So yeah, this was one of the most impactful sets up until its time, and it also had a lot of cards that got banned relatively quickly because they did change the game and how fast the game played.
I remember the first ban list came out in 2004, I believe it was. With the Yada lock?
Yeah, Yada lock, yes.
Oh yeah, Chaos Image Dragon Yada, can't forget about that.
Yeah, man, that was crazy.
That's GG.
Yeah. And you can't imagine, like, you know what happened?
What happened?
Yada came off the ban list.
Well, recently,
recently,
and now it's not played at all, right?
Nobody cares.
No one cares,
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh!
It took almost 20 years for the card to be playable again, and now it's still not playable even though it's not banned.
Yeah. Invasion of Chaos was also for me one of the most iconic sets because of that, like Luster Soldier, Yada Lock, and everything that involves like special summoning.
Yeah.
And it also it is kind of the set that transforms it is only one set I believe afterwards with Ancient Sanctuary, and then the GX era begins, like with Ultimate Rares and Horus level 8 and all that crazy cards that come afterwards.
Yeah.
Cyber Dragon and so on. So
Rise of Destiny with Horus, I believe it is. Yeah.
I think Horus was Soul of Destiny, actually.
Soul of Destiny?
Yeah, and Rise of Destiny was the...
Rise of the Duelist.
Rise.
Yeah, okay.
Come on, guys.
Yes.
It's been too long. It's been so many sets.
Yes. Yeah, so we touched a little bit on this era, but you already told, Pharaoh Sylvan was your first pick, right?
In 2004, Pharaoh Servant was introduced into New Zealand. It was the first Yu-Gi-Oh pack that we actually had before Legend of Blue Eyes. And I remember this was actually the very first booster pack I ever opened, and I remember my first rare was a Hayabusa Knight.
Wow.
I was pretty disappointed with it, to be honest. Quite a weak monster, 1000 attack, and it can attack twice if you've killed another monster with it, I believe. So very weak monster, but that was my first rare from this set. But the best cards in this set are like Jinzo and Imperial Order, yes.
Yes, right.
They were the chase cards, with Imperial Order being another banned card. So just the most iconic cards from those eras.
And they're both secret rares, good luck.
Both secret rares.
That's right. Also, Thousand Eyes Restrict is in
here.
That's
right.
Iconic from the series.
Tsukuyomi lock with it.
Yes.
Thousand Eyes Restrict lock with Metamorphosis.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of history. History comes from these packs.
That's right.
So we'll open it up and see if we can.
It is actually an original pack from back
Konami,
then.
the Konami pack. So we'll see what we can get. Oh, these ones are. Or Harpy's brother. So already this was a playable card back in the Pharaoh Servant days. 1800 attack. That was like one of the best stats you could get back when it was the fourth set into the game. Later on, Harpy's brother got eclipsed by Harpy Sisters and Harpy Girl and all the other Harpy strategies that came out. Random Mercy, I think this was a pretty average card, to be honest. A buff card, I think it was. Inspection, another. I don't think there's so much play this one. This, I can't remember. I think these are cards. Oh, Magic Drain. This was a very good card back in the day.
Yeah.
This was good in control decks to shut down spells, impactful spells. Makes them pay discard an extra cards to even play their spell. So this was a very good card. Soul of the Forgotten, just another cartoon-based card.
Yeah, vanilla.
Same with Gust. A lot of these just quite basic. Insect Barrier. This actually saw some play in the insect decks. It stops. I believe it stopped people attacking or something like this. Yeah, cannot attack as long as they have a face-up card on the field. Insect type monster. So this was quite a good card in a random format that probably wasn't that good, but was playable. And then just another normal monster. Just the core of Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day, just normal monsters.
That's right. Yeah.
Things have changed a lot now.
Yeah, that's right. Now it's completely different, right?
Yeah.
We just saw we had two packs and we had two cards that are different. Where is it? Here. So we pulled Magic Drain and Enraged Battle-Ox as the rares with the silver names, and all the other cards are commons. So back then it was pretty difficult to pull actually a full card from a pack.
Yeah, I believe it was 2 ultra rares in a booster box back in those days.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard to find
The
ultra
ratio-
rares. And it's kind of like the Flesh and Blood model. You know, when we first started, we had only 2 Majestics in a booster box.
Yeah.
So it's kind of very similar, kind of modeled after Yu-Gi-Oh a little bit.
And I have brought one card here with me that I actually also want to talk about with you because Change of Heart. This is a card that we have here that also just got off the ban list, and I hope I looked it up in the right way because Change of Heart got banned in 2005, I believe, the second ban list, and the year after Yara got banned, and it is back too. So, do you have any kind of say to Change of Heart?
I remember this being, extremely powerful. Just taking the best thing about this card was actually taking their monster and just tributing it away. That was the key to it. So it cleared their board because normally if they have an 1800 attack monster and you can't get over it, it's the way to just clear the board and then get your monster, a bigger monster on the board. But now I can see in this day and age of Yu-Gi-Oh, I don't think this card is even playable. Taking their monster doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You need to be able to build big boards, and taking one monster is not going to actually impact what's going on from what I understand.
I've never played with the card because I started after 2005 and I quit before 2022. But I feel like this card would have been pretty broken at the start. It was like
There's no cost to it. You get to take the Magician Duck.
you could even take face downs.
Yes.
You can take face downs,
Yeah.
face ups. Really had no. You could attack with the monster. Really had no limit to the card.
So, Chris, I wanted to touch a little bit more on your background because you already told me you were playing also in World Championships in Yu-Gi-Oh. How did you develop and how was your past with being a player in Yu-Gi-Oh?
So I started playing in 2004-5 era, back when Yasa existed and Chaos Emperor Dragon. And I played very consistently. It was a very big passion of mine. I went to the hobby stores every single weekend. I started skipping school to play Yu-Gi-Oh. All the things you shouldn't do, I was doing when it came to Yu-Gi-Oh. I was buying and selling. I was just very immersed in the game. In 2008, I won my first national championship, and I went to the World Championships. It was in Berlin, and I made the top 8 with the Gravekeeper burn deck. It was quite unique everyone was caught off guard. So I was second in Swiss, and unfortunately I got beaten by a Gladiator Beast in the top 8, who I had beaten in the Swiss rounds. So it was pretty unfortunate for me. And then 2009, I got second in the finals of nationals again, and the first place player couldn't go to Worlds, so I was able to go. And I made second in Swiss again at World Championships with a Gladiator Beast deck. Also losing to a person who I beat in the Swiss, the last round of Swiss. So it was kind of a rough moment for me because I think I was the fan favorite to win that tournament. But these things happen, and since then I had played other events like World Champs qualifiers and things like that, Fortune Tours. I've done quite well. But from 2010 onwards, I kind of moved away from Yu-Gi-Oh. I had a family, and I sold a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I ran the website Yu-Gi-Oh Singles, which was one of the best singles websites in the world for a few years. But then after that, we moved on to Flesh and Blood, and we're here now at the Flesh and Blood tournament. And,
That's right.
But everything started with Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
So I met James White, who created Flesh and Blood through playing Yu-Gi-Oh through his tournaments. And everything from Yu-Gi-Oh led to where I am now. So that has been an instrumental part of my life.
Yeah. You just mentioned 2012 began the development of Flesh and Blood and LSS.
So 2012 was when James thought of the game, and the brain explosion of what Flesh and Blood should be. In 2013, I started working with James, and between 2013 and 2018, we were working behind the scenes in our other business, just developing Flesh and Blood. The game went through many iterations. It wasn't that good until about 2016, where we finally had the eureka moment of what the game is pretty much today. But it's been a long journey. Flesh and Blood has been 2013 to 2018 until release, and then now. So it's just been a long process.
It is kind of interesting for me to also hear about your experience in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I have one of the 3 cards that I brought with me. Is actually this one.
Yeah.
Darkham Dragon. So for all of you out there, the Yu-Gi-Oh players might be familiar with this card. Also off the ban list, you can play this card today.
Yeah.
Maybe like you can start. Do you have any memories with this card?
Yeah. This card was from
This is still my era.
Phantom Darkness.
Phantom Darkness.
Yeah.
So I started a little after this, but this card was still in the format.
Yeah.
But I remember this card, and during Phantom Darkness when this came out, it was very expensive.
Yeah, it was back then,
I think it was a short print too. So, and the best deck, you needed 3 of this.
Yeah.
I think when this came out, it was Teledad format, right?
Teledad format.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Return
Dad and then
first.
Teledad.
Yeah, and then the skill drain based Darkhan Dragon decks.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
But
it was at 3 in the Return Dad, and then it went to 2 in the Teledad, and then it was at 1 after that.
It's been 1 for a longest time, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it ever got banned, but yeah, when this card was at 1, it was played during Chaos Dragon in 2012. Chaos Dragon, Rescue Rabbit, and Sector format. And this card was one of the most powerful cards in the Chaos Dragon deck because of a card called Eclipse Wyvern, being able to, once it's in the grave, you get to banish a level 7 or higher dark monster. And then you banish Dark Arm.
Is there any put a stand on it?
Yeah, sure, I think so.
So here's the go.
Yeah, we just need to quickly adjust our setup. No problem. Should be alright.
Hey man, how are you?
Hey Dirk, how are you? So, kannst du einmal gucken, ob die Ausrichtung richtig ist? Ob man uns sieht?
Hier kann ich, oder hier kann ich.
Ja, genau, da vorne.
Nach vorne?
Ah ne, genau, so. Danke dir.
Anyway, so yeah, it was in the Chaos Dragon deck. It was a very powerful card. That deck was ran a lot of darks, but the graveyard manipulation was very easy. So you could, as long as you banish a Darkhan Dragon, you'll probably get to play it during that game. So yeah, this card was a scary card. But recently, I don't think, for the last couple of years, this card has not seen much play.
I think there was like back when I was also in the community in Germany, there was a deck that kind of was also Chaos Dragon, because I think Chaos Dragon Levianeer was a new card that came out, and then you also abused Darkham Dragon. But like I said, I'm not really a player like you, and but I remember that card from collector's standpoint for sure. And also friends of mine play the old format, so this card is
it's super iconic.
Yeah, it is.
This card won me a Crush Card Virus.
Wow.
One of the original SJC cards. So this is a very fun card. Like one of my favorite cards in the game. I've played it through all types of formats where it existed within the era, like Return Dead, the Tally Dead, the Skill Drain. It's been in a lot of my decks that have won a lot of prizing. A lot of events.
The ultimate rare Darkhan Dragon looks.
That looks sick.
That looks very sick.
Yeah.
And like did from those times where you played intensively Yu-Gi-Oh, what did you bring to Flesh and Blood with it? From the playstyle, maybe from mechanics? Is there anything that you had that you brought with to Flesh and Blood?
It was just more, I was able to play multiple games and just figure out what were the problems, what's not okay, what's good about the game, and just that kind of like experience, because I used to play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh. I mean, 3 or 4 days a week at like stores for hobby leagues and everything, and I think I'm kind of a grinder. I can I can play a lot of games and absorb it, and just keep playing at the same level. So I think contributing that to Flesh and Blood, just having one guy that can keep playing, and keep sharing how they feel and experiences is pretty important.
Is anything like that you have for the meta that we have at the moment that you think transition from Yu-Gi-Oh over to Flesh and Blood, or is there a problem that you think you solved with the current meta?
I think if you want to look at a deck or a hero, I think Dromai is actually a very similar, like a Yu-Gi-Oh style, where you have to plan out your turn, you have to build your board, make your invocations, and your opponent has to then figure out how to combat them over the course of turns. So one thing Flesh and Blood has that is similar to Yu-Gi-Oh is it's like a little bit of a puzzle where you have to play the correct cards in the right order and assume what your opponent is going to do in response to what you're doing. So unlike other card games where you build up resources and your plays are quite linear, where you're going to just be like, when you hit three resource like mana, you're going to play the 3-drop. When you hit 4, you're going to play the 4-drop. This game is like sometimes you play the weaker monster because you think you can force your opponent to play their better cards on your weaker cards, and it's all about trying to plan ahead and like set up something bigger in the late game. So it's kind of like a bit of a puzzle, and Yu-Gi-Oh is very similar to that, where you don't just play your best cards out first, you try and use your worst cards to combat their better cards, so eventually you'll have the better cards and then they have the worst cards and you get the advantage that way. Yeah. That's how I used to play Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day. I would always try and just gain advantages, small incremental advantages turn after turn, and it's very similar in Flesh and Blood as now, where it's defending at the right time, attacking with the right cards, pitching the right cards and saving them for later. I don't know if the game is really like that anymore. From what I've seen, it's just about doing the most impactful things you can do and seeing if your opponent can handle what you've done. Yeah. Whereas back when I used to play, it used to be a lot about like spell and trap cards and monsters with incremental effects, and it's just slowly building until you get so much advantage. But so much advantage might only be 2+2 cards or something. Yeah. But that's a lot of advantage when games are just going back and forth 1-to-1. Yeah. So that what I feel Flesh and Blood is now is very similar to how Yu-Gi-Oh kind of used to be, with the just incremental bits and pieces, and eventually you overwhelm your opponent and you close the game out. Yeah. So I think Dromai is a very good representation of what Yu-Gi-Oh could be in Flesh and Blood, as well as most other heroes with the advantage based, like defending and pitching and trying to get small incremental advantages.
All right, yeah, that's a good touch on. And Newsun, maybe you can talk a little bit more about what are you doing in your job, so the viewers out there are actually having more of a sense of what you actually do for Flesh and Blood.
Okay, so I started in 2020. Started Flesh and Blood. I actually got Chris right here to give me a job, and it's been smooth sailing since. And then I started as a developer for most of 2020 and 2021, but this year I've stepped down from development. Yeah, and I'm more into the operations and supply chain side of Flesh and Blood now.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting to hear, because like when you imagine like what is going on in the next years, then there will also be so much new opportunities and so much new stuff to do. And like I personally, I'm really excited to see what you guys are bringing up, but also to see like what maybe from Yu-Gi-Oh will I see in Flesh and Blood, and maybe like some problems that are already solved. But like also what are really bringing memories back is like seeing the arsenal, like where you can put a card face down. Like that's a little bit for me like, okay, I have the option of having an extra card face down that the opponent doesn't know what it is, kind of like a trap card in Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah. And also like we see the banished zone is also in Flesh and Blood. I'm really not familiar with it yet because I didn't play Chain or Levia, but it must be something really heavy, because in the next set Dynasty I think we see an assassin hero which also heavily is invested with doing something with banishing the cards from the opponents, right?
Yeah. It's kind of a way. We call it in the office implied fatigue, where you're forcing your opponent to lose cards in their deck, so eventually they have no threats or power left to come back at you. So it's kind of a mill in some games, but not so much mill. It's attack based, back and forth. Like your opponent has some control over it. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of like you try and run them out of cards so they're fatigued and they have no energy left to fight you back. Yeah. And then there's some payoff cards for things that you do banish. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Let's come to the last card we have here. This is Breaker, the Magical Warrior, also an old school card here.
One of the most important cards in the early days of with Yugioh.
Yes.
Yep.
This is exactly the card that when I was talking about card advantage and incremental value, this is the exact card which creates those advantages, just destroying their mirror force or cards like Sakuretsu armor and just getting the damage in, and now they're forced to attack your monster, but you've already gained the value from it, so then you can come back over their monster with yours. And Breaker was just one of the most amazing cards. When it was at 3, it was actually very problematic in the early days of the game, and it got restricted to 1 very quickly. This card went hand in hand with Tribe Infecting Virus, where this kills the back row and Tribe Infecting Virus kills all the monsters, and then you just have free reign over the board.
Yeah.
So this was one of the most special cards in the game.
Yeah, this card also is off the ban list. Not that really important anymore.
No,
Nah.
the type of advantage it gains is just not good enough
Too
anymore.
slow. It's more of a GOAT format card now.
Yeah, that's right. Goat format is keyword. And speaking of ban list, maybe you can touch on ban list for Flesh and Blood too, because that is something we see in Flesh and Blood.
With the ban list, it's not ideal. We don't want to ban cards too often. However, we're going to do it to shape formats in ways that we feel are more healthy and just create more favorable environments for players. Sometimes we're a small team and we're making a lot of cards, and thousands of players are always going to find the smallest things that maybe our team doesn't find, and we might miss things. Ideally we won't, but sometimes it happens, and sometimes we need to correct these things, and it's just part of a TCG. Unlike digital games, we can't just go in and patch update a card to fix it and make it fair. So we need to do things that drastic things we normally wouldn't want to do, like ban cards.
Yeah.
But that's not the goal. It's not but we understand that it is part of TCGs, and we embrace it as much as we can. And one of the most exciting things about Yu-Gi-Oh ban list, people love the Yu-Gi-Oh ban list. They wait for it. They speculate. They're
hyped for it.
They get hyped for it.
Right.
It's like what more exciting than a set release a lot of the time. And Flesh and Blood might be like this one day. You never know. It's people always want to know what's coming off, what's going on, and I personally don't think ban lists are bad. I can understand people getting upset when they lose their favorite cards, but sometimes it's for the greater good of the game.
Yeah.
People might not realize it now, but if you go to events and get crushed by a card a card that's just not very fun, it's probably just not that good for the game, and it's better to solve the issues than just let them run rampant.
That's right. Yeah. You kind of fixed that also in one way, because I remember at Proto New Jersey we also had kind of problem, right? And got kicked off pretty fast, I would say. Yeah, maybe you can touch on that a little bit.
Was it the Starvo?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The banning of Autumn's Touch, right?
Yes.
That?
And also you had you have this living legend system, right? So that problematic cards, or not cards, but rather the heroes that are the centerpiece of Flesh and Blood, get solved pretty fast if they are a problem.
Yeah, so the Starvo banning of Autumn's Touch was quite simple, to be honest. The deck just played 9 copies of them. It didn't matter what it did. All it mattered was that it was an Earth card, it blocked for free, and it had good stats.
Cost 3 as well.
And it cost 3. So it was more like, if you take away those 9 cards from the Starvo deck, make them play weaker cards that only defend for 2, maybe that would make a difference. Because if you have the Starvo deck that just blocks good, attacks well, then the deck's pretty unfair. But if you have a Starvo deck that blocks mediocre with all the 2s, that's 9 additional 2 blocks that they have in their deck instead of 3.
Yeah.
That could mean a lot of things. Your CNCs could hit, for example, or your hit triggers will hit because they are running a break ground instead of an Autumn's Touch because of it only being on the block for 2. Yeah, and then the Living Legend is more like, it keeps formats healthy and it keeps formats in check. If a deck is winning too much, the Living Legend will just accumulate more points, and then over a certain time, the deck will be banned. Yeah. Maybe Chris has more to elaborate about the Living Legend.
The Starvo power level was a little bit of an oversight, but that was because we also made an adjustment to the Briar hero to tone her down, and she was one of the heroes that kept Starvo in check. So with the adjustment to her, it was an oversight of how it would affect the Starvo. and it got to the point where he was actually just a bit too powerful, and unless we ban a whole lot of cards, his power level was just going to stay quite high.
Yeah.
And because he had accumulated so many points for the Living Legend so fast, it was a lot easier for us to bring his power level down a little bit so other decks could compete, but overall he was still going to stay quite high, so he's likely to get to that Living Legend point and actually just leave the game. He left at a rate that a hero we typically wouldn't want a hero to leave at. It was only 3.5 months, I believe. Normally we want a hero to last maybe 1.5 years, but sometimes we have to let things just take the course and just leave the game instead of just trying to nerf everything as much as possible to keep him in. It's like sometimes we acknowledge we made a mistake, let him leave the game and move forward and fix, like we just progress with how we want the game to be once he's gone.
Yes.
So it was one of those like quite tricky situations where we didn't want him to win as much as he did. We couldn't really counter it by banning a whole lot of cards, and so we let him kind of just ride off, take his Pro Tour, like ride off at Pro Tour and just deal with it that way.
Yes.
It's hopefully we don't have those type of mistakes again and oversights. We're taking a lot more care and diligence. We're not getting kind of screwed over by COVID as much anymore. We weren't able to work in the office during the development of Everfest, so it was kind of a back and forth online. A few oversights were made, and we do our best to just not do those type of things again.
All right, I want to round it up with one more topic, and that's it, because I know you have some things that you love about Yu-Gi-Oh! And you have some things that you don't like about Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe you can tell me what's your favorite thing that you remember about Yu-Gi-Oh! And that you like to see in Flesh and Blood.
Well, I used to really love gameplay of Yu-Gi-Oh! I love the back and forth. I really love spell and trap cards. Setting trap cards and messing with my opponent's mind, or being able to correctly read what they have put in their spell and trap card zone and play around things and kind of just find the way through the maze to like get the victory. I really enjoyed that about Yu-Gi-Oh! It was my favorite thing. I was very good at it for a period of time. I was the best in the country, I believe, for quite a long period of time. Just pat myself on the back there. but I think it was like unquestionable. But the game did change to a point. I think it was about the 2014 mark where I kind of washed my hands a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where I could see that it was getting too fast. It was getting combo based. Spell and traps didn't matter very much anymore. Every card was a +1 or a search. Every card searched, and there was no back and forth play anymore. It was it lost its special feel, I guess, of like, I felt like I really had an advantage in the past, and I don't have an advantage now. Like, anyone can learn solitaire, and that's what Yu-Gi-Oh! Started feeling like to me. But my greatest accomplishments was winning nationals, making the top 8 of Worlds 2 times. I wish I could have participated a 3rd time. I kind of gave a victory to somebody else that I shouldn't have. But I have a lot of fond memories in Yu-Gi-Oh! I've been all around the world because of it, and like that's memories that I'll always have for the rest of my life. And now I'm kind of doing the same with Flesh and Blood, like traveling and coming to Pro Tours and going to Worlds and meeting all new people. So that's, I still carry that over to Flesh and Blood. So that's, but it all started from Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is where everything began for me in the card gaming space. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Is always going to have a soft spot in my heart. Probably not how it is now, but how it was, and you can't take away what it was.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
For me, Yu-Gi-Oh! The good things what I like about Yu-Gi-Oh! I liked how it was very interactive. Like Chris said, spell and traps were very important. I'm more of a monster guy myself, but I don't enjoy playing decks that run like 35 monsters and 5 spells. I like playing like traps and stuff like that. And then I like the back and forth. Maybe it wasn't as back and forth as Chris's era, but mine was still back and forth. Right now, what I don't like about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just the amount of combos and how long it takes for a turn. You sit down turn 1, you roll the dice, your opponent goes first, and he takes 15 minutes to do his combo, and then he has like four cards on the field that 3 of them probably have negates, and then you're basically playing, once I draw my 6th card, if I can't break their board, I just lose the game, and we go to game 2. And then I'll do the same thing to him, and then game 3 we'll see if he'll do the same thing to me. So it's more about, right now it's more about comboing and breaking the boards, which is sometimes very boring, it's very lame. It's just like I don't want to play a game where I have to sit there, watch you play your turn out for 15 minutes, and then on my turn, I'm basically waiting to draw the 6th card to see if I could see it or not, and that's just not something I enjoy doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I also want to tell you like what I really love to see from Yu-Gi-Oh! In Flesh and Blood, and that's from a collector's standpoint, like how you build the product, like the actual box and the rarities that you put in. Like that is something for me that is really special that I miss in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
Because back in the days, like the cards that we here have are also the original first printings, and that was back then always like the chase, like we did it in the beginning. We only pulled rares, you know, but we could have opened like in Jinzo or a Dark Magician of Chaos, and that was back then really like the chase for me. And also seeing this vanish from Yu-Gi-Oh! Also with the massive products was really letting me down, and that's what I love as a collector in Flesh and Blood, like seeing the cold foiling, the marvels, and also the difficulty of pulling certain cards. But then, of course, not meta-relevant cards. That's like the nice thing in Flesh and Blood, I think, for the players then, right? So, yeah, just a heavy accomplishment for you guys. So,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you so much also.
We took a lot of inspiration from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Rarity model at the start. That was, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Did it right in the beginning, I think.
I think too.
Better than any other card game. So it really did influence how we first structured our products. And you know, we still use some of the influence from Yu-Gi-Oh! We're like now I think it's changed to almost every pack has a super rare or an ultra rare, and if everything's special, nothing is special. So it's good when you can keep things special. Like having less is more sometimes, and we like keeping things that way.
Yeah, so also, guys, thank you for taking the time here at the last day and the first World Championship in Flesh and Blood. 1 hour before was just the first World Championship crowned. Michael Hamilton from the US also won $100,000. Like that's so crazy.
Yeah, this
Life-changing money.
He seems unbeatable. He
Yes.
wins US Nationals, wins 2 callings. He's won a PTA in every event he's played in that offers one. It's just an astounding accomplishment, and it goes to show when you're dedicated to something, you do get the results. And Michael Hamilton, I think he quit his job to test for the World Championships, and now he's the world champion. Like you can't
Pay
write
off.
it better.
Yeah.
You can't do it better.
Yes.
So congratulations to him. It's just an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Guys, I wish you safe travels home, and hope to see you in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
See you
Thanks so
soon.
much. Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, your pack sucked.